When you're disrupting someone's day with a cold call, you have to bring relevant value to the conversation, and you'll have about 10 seconds to prove it. Prospecting through cold calling over the phone has been used by sales professionals for decades, and it's a great way to build your portfolio. Let's look at the 3 critical steps to success in cold calling. Be relevant, engage your prospects, and funnel the conversation to the close. The first 10 seconds of your call will dictate the entire conversation. That's why you have to prove value to the specific person you're speaking with and be prepared to do so quickly. That means that a one-size-fits-all script is not going to work. That is, unless, of course, everyone on your list has the same job title, works for a company of a similar size, has been in their role for the exact same amount of time, and is experiencing the exact same industry, market, and internal challenges. Very unlikely. To make sure you can provide relevant value to the specific person you're speaking with, follow these 3 steps. Research your prospect beforehand when applicable, connect to the prospect's immediate needs, and connect to the prospect's business needs. Let's start with research. It's important to know who you're speaking with and what it is that your solution can offer that's going to be important to them. Having this information also helps you get through the gatekeeper. If you ask for the person in charge of whatever department, it shows that you have not researched your prospect and that you're not prepared to bring relevant value to that prospect. Of course, you often hear that you don't want to sound like a salesperson, but I'll tell you, more than anything, you don't want to sound like a bad, unprepared salesperson. Instead, always ask to speak to the person by just their first name, as if you've called them 100 times before. Next, you must have a plan to connect to both their immediate needs and their business needs. Being relevant to their immediate needs means you show that you understand they're busy. So don't waste their time with niceties like, "How are you doing today?" or "Do you have a second?" Those questions are just not relevant to the person until you have a solid relationship with them. Instead, ask if you caught them at a bad time, or maybe even if you caught them at a really bad time. In his book, Never Split the Difference, former FBI National Lead Hostage Negotiator Chris Voss explains that people feel empowered when they say no, and can actually feel concerned and cornered when they say yes. By asking if you caught them at a bad time, you're empowering them to tell you no. Here's the best part. Worst case, if it is a bad time, you're set up to ask for a better time to reconnect. And after you ask that question, they'll either set up another time for you to call them, or they'll ask you what this call is about, which is your window of opportunity to prove your value. Also, when someone answers the phone by stating their first name, don't reconfirm their name. For example, if I answer the phone and say, "This is Ben," and you say, "Is this Ben?" or "Can I speak with Ben?" I already know I'm talking to somebody with poor listening skills and I'm disengaged. The next step is being relevant to their business needs. For example, if the person you're calling is a referral from someone, now is the time to mention who referred you, or any other clear connection that you may have with the person that you're calling. A clear connection with the prospect, such as a referral, gives you a higher level of credibility in being able to solve their needs. Next, you must have a customized 5 to 10 second value proposition statement that speaks to the specific persona on the phone. Your value proposition must be specific to what you know about the person you're speaking to. It must include quantifiable data and display your unique selling proposition or your unique reason to buy from your company. Your value proposition can't sound scripted or generic. That means you have to practice purposeful emphasis and tone in all the right places. Now here's one of the most important steps. Now that you've shown value in those critical first 10 seconds, you have to very, very quickly move to that next step. You must get your prospect engaged to the conversation. Without a pause, ask your prospect a question that will require her to think about the problem that you solve. Once she's answered your question, it's time to funnel that call towards the desired action you've set. You'll have a small window of time to ask 1 to 2 more questions that are relevant to your solution to get this process started. And those questions should also help you pre-qualify the prospect based on how you define your target audience. The funnel process starts broadly with those 1 to 2 relevant follow-up questions and continues until you've confirmed that the prospect on the phone is qualified. Next, you want to move the prospect narrower towards that desired close. In B2B selling scenarios, your desired close will often be to schedule an appointment. In these cases, it's very important to not get trapped into selling your solution over the phone. Always focus on selling the appointment, not the solution. To guide the conversation towards your desired close, have a directing statement prepared as a lead-in to scheduling the appointment. It might sound something like this. It seems like we may be able to help increase your software adoption rate. Let's schedule a quick call with one of our adoption specialists to see if there's a fit. When is your schedule less busy? In the beginning of the week or maybe towards the end of the week? Now, if your objective is to hand off the call immediately to a rep, then you may say something like, "It seems like we may be able to help increase your software adoption rate. In fact, I should be able to connect you with an adoption specialist right now. Do you have time for a full 30-minute demo, or would you prefer a 5-minute overview before scheduling a demo for a later time?" Notice a couple of key points. You do not lead with, "I'd like to schedule a meeting." Remember, every time you use words like I or me, you're centering the conversation around your own needs. Instead, make it about what's in it for them. Also notice how we didn't ask if they would like to schedule an appointment. Give them a choice close starting from broad to narrow. In this case, we asked if the beginning of the week or end of the week was less busy for them. If you just ask if they want to schedule an appointment, they might tell you no. Then you'll have to regain control of the conversation. It can be done, but it just adds extra work for you. Also notice how we didn't just throw out one specific date and time. If that date and time does not work, you increase your chance of the prospect in getting overwhelmed by their busy calendar as you go back and forth to figuring out the best date and time. Instead, once you've agreed to the beginning or the end of the week being better for them, continue to lead the call down the funnel and narrowing it down to which 2 days towards the beginning or the end of the week. For example, you might ask, "So is Thursday or Friday better for you?" From there, you'll ask if morning or afternoon is better on Friday, and then provide 1 or 2 appointment times on that specific day. Now, it is worth noting that if you're working with someone who prefers red communication style, they may cut you off in the middle of this process and just spit out a date that works best for them, and that's even better. Once you have agreed on the date and time, confirm their email address so that you can send an invite to them, and also make sure that they've set aside enough time for this meeting. If your solution typically requires multiple decision makers, now is a great time to ask if anyone else should join the call with you. For example, if you're speaking to an IT director, but your software also involves HR, you may say something like, "Since we're talking about HR-related software, would it be helpful for the HR director to join us?" If there is someone that's going to join you, make sure to go ahead and get that person's email address as well. That way you can send them an invite. Also, it adds one more contact to the company, solidifying your relationship further. Now, the way you ask this final step is absolutely critical. You must ask your prospect if she will call you with a 24-hour notice if she needs to reschedule the appointment. Notice that this is a question which you must get an answer to and not a statement that you just make and then move on to the rest of the conversation. Also notice how we asked if they would call if they need to reschedule the appointment. We didn't say if they need to cancel the appointment. In Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, Science, and Practice, he notes that by asking the prospect this question and waiting for an answer, you will increase your confirmations by over 50%. We've covered a lot of key points to the cold call formula. To make the most of this information, take a few minutes to write your script for each of the 3 steps. Be relevant, engage your prospect, and funnel the call to your desired action. Once you've written your first draft, you'll want to practice on video so you can watch yourself and adjust as necessary. Then practice that dialogue with a friend or a coworker to make sure you sound natural and engaging. As you start making these cold calls, pay attention to what's working and where you have opportunities to improve. You must be in the habit of improving your formula and your structure to your cold calls at least once a day, so that way you can continue to improve and always see the best results. Okay, it's time to get to work. Let's do it.